Have you ever stopped to think about the buildings we spend our lives in? What if they weren't just static blocks of concrete and glass? What if they could actually think? Well, today we're going to dive into this incredible new world of smart architecture, where buildings are becoming less like objects and more like living, breathing partners in our lives.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if buildings were actually alive? What if the office you work in or the home you live in could feel you were there, understand what you needed, and then just react to the world around it, all on its own? So that's the big idea we're tackling today, the concept of a living building. We're going to break down exactly how these amazing structures work, and it all starts with the most basic thing any living creature needs, the ability to sense its surroundings. Right, so every living thing needs senses, to understand what's going on around it. For a smart building, those senses come from some seriously cool technology, a whole network of sensors. Because look, before a building can do anything smart, it needs information. It needs a constant real-time feed of data about everything that's happening, not just inside its own walls, but outside in the environment too. So what are we talking about here? Well, these sensors are constantly asking questions like, hey, is anyone actually in this conference room? Or is the sun blasting one side of the building, making it super hot? And maybe most importantly, is the air in here actually fresh and healthy for the people inside? This whole web of sensors, that's what we call the Internet of Things, or IoT. And honestly, thinking of it as the building's nervous system is the perfect analogy. Every single sensor is like a nerve ending, constantly gathering info and sending messages back to a central point. It's how the building feels everything all at once. Okay, so the building can feel. It's got all this data pouring in about people, light, air quality, the whole 9 yards. But just having data isn't enough, right? You have to make sense of it. Which brings us to the next big question. How does it think? And this is where it gets really cool. This is where artificial intelligence comes in. The AI is basically the building's brain. It takes all that raw data from the senses and turns it into smart, useful actions. And the process is actually pretty simple when you break it down. First, the AI gathers all the data from that IoT nervous system. Next, it analyzes it. It starts to see patterns like when people show up for work, which rooms get used the most, or how a sunny day affects the temperature. And then the magic happens. It optimizes. It makes thousands of tiny automatic adjustments every second to make everything perfect.
But what's the point of all this thinking? What's the end game? Well, it's all about one thing, hitting a state of almost perfect efficiency, using the absolute smallest amount of energy needed to keep everyone inside comfortable and healthy. And just think about what that really means. It means no more wasting money heating an office that's totally empty. The building knows. No more blasting the AC in a room when the sun is pouring in and making it a greenhouse. The building adapts. This is efficiency on a whole new level. Okay, so our living building can sense its world and it can think about what to do. But there's one more piece to the puzzle. It has to be able to physically react. And that's where we need to talk about the building's skin, its outer shell. For hundreds of years, a building's exterior was just a passive wall, right? It was static. It just sat there. But that is changing in a huge way. We're going from these passive shells to a dynamic, responsive skin that's actively managing how the building deals with the outside world.
And this isn't science fiction. We're talking about real tech here. Imagine windows that can automatically tint themselves when the sun gets too bright, blocking heat so you don't need to crank the air conditioning. Or vents that can open up just right to catch a perfect cooling breeze. The building is literally breathing.
So, we've seen how a smart building can sense, think, and react. Let's put it all together. What does this responsive future actually mean for you and me, for our cities? Why does this matter? Well, the benefits are just massive. For our cities, it means a huge drop in energy use, which leads to greener, more sustainable places to live. And for us, it means healthier places to work, with air that's always fresh and homes that are so comfortable because they actually learn and adapt to you. There's a quote that just perfectly sums this all up. Our buildings are no longer just static shelters. They're becoming dynamic partners in our lives. They're not just places we exist in anymore. They're becoming active partners that make our lives better and help us protect the planet. So we've given our buildings a nervous system, a brain, and a responsive skin. In a very real way, they're coming alive. Which leaves us with the most exciting question of all. What should we ask them to do next?